Hi, I'm Richard from the Phoenix Society,
I'm Christopher.
also from the Phoenix Society. What we're going to discuss today is binds. Fiore has 4 different treatises that show binds. There's some variations between them. We're not going to worry about that today. We're simply going to talk about what is your basic bind, what isn't a bind, how to get into the bind. And we'll do maybe a couple plays, but we'll do that. We've done that in other videos before. So the first thing is well, what's a bind? Well, Chris is going to show you what a bind isn't. That's a thrust. Anytime the point is at me and we're within measure of one another, we treat that as a thrust. We don't do our bind stuff from here. There's 2 things I can do when someone's pointing a sword at me. Chris, what are those 2 things?
You can either break it or exchange it.
Right? So if the tips are pointed at one another, we're going to treat that as a thrust, even if they're not thrusting. Because we're within measure, we can still do the same things to it. So the next question is, well, what's a bind then? Well, Fiore shows 3. Chris is going to walk you through what each one is. The first one is
At the tips.
with our left leg forward. The next one, maybe a little bit closer.
You're going to be at the middles, anywhere right around here. And then when we come in really close, right leg forward now, anything up through here is a close bind.
How do we get to these binds? There's a couple ways. We're going to show you some. So one easy way is you can use longa in order to get into your bind. Case in point, Chris goes to any guard that he wants. I hang out here in longa, and I simply wait for him to do something. If he wants to cut, if he wants to do anything, I can always just scoot out a measure. What I want him to do is I want him to bring his sword forward. Once this happens, I'm at a bind, and I can do my things from here. Another way is if he's in longa. There he is, minding his own business. He's pointing the sword at me. Yes, I could treat it as a thrust, but I don't want to. I want to go to the bind on purpose. So what I do is I place the sword like this. I begin applying just a little bit of pressure. I begin driving the point towards him, and watch what he does. See? The points come up. And now we're at a tip bind, right? And both of us can make the play. But because I planned on going in, hopefully I'll do it. Let's walk through that again. She's at longa. So am I. I put a little bit of pressure. I advance my left foot. As soon as I feel the pressure from him, our tips go up. I feel his pressure. He's actually trying to push me over. So I let him go. And I perform the play. As long as within measure. We've got a particularly tall boy here. All right. So that's one way you can get in, right? You can use longa. The other one that you can do is you can use longa in order to get in. Fiore says you can do this to get to the close. And how you do that is from longa, you're going to launch a cut deep and hard at their head, something they have to answer. Once they cover, you know they're going to cover. Even though you're trying to speed that cut up, you know they're going to cover. And now if they don't, they die. Great. If they do, you already have your close play in mind. So Chris is going to show it, and then I'll show it from the other side. So I'm in a guard that's not threatening him. Here, he performs the cut, and we're at a bind. Right? I have to do that. I have to parry that, or I'm going to get hit on the head. He knows that I'm going to do that, at which point he does one of the close plays. Right? From my perspective, here we are. He doesn't have to point at me, so I feel comfortable about going in. I'm going to throw the cut at his head. I'm going to make it tight to my ear. I'm going to pass as I do it, so I'll end up right leg forward. And in I go, ready to pommel him, push him aside, and do any of the cool Fiore close plays. Right? When we talk about binds, you're like, well, what if you try that and someone just stabs you? Right? So Chris is there. First of all, I don't think I do it against that. Right? I don't think I do that against that. And if he does it from here, and I come in and he decides to just stab me, and we double, right? Well, that's a conversation for both of us to have. When you fight someone, you have to sort of feel them out to see if they're suicidal. And if they are, there's other things you do. I tend to wait for them and use some of the other things like the Boar's tooth claims. So to kind of summarize, we got the 3 binds. Chris, they are?
Binding at the tips, left leg forward. Binding at the middles, still left leg forward. Binding at the close, now right leg forward. Anywhere up through here.
In the mounted section, Fiore says a little bit more about these. He says at the tips you can't spend a lot of time. You can spend a little more time here and the most time here. But he indicates it's all pretty fast. And that's the Phoenix Society's interpretation of what is a bind, what's not a bind, some ways to get into the bind, and what to do if someone's unsafe when he tries to get into it. I'm Richard.
I'm Christopher.
Thank you.